Welcome back to the Takeout Reporter Panel Time. Who are our panelists? Well, Dave Levinthal, contributor editor for NOTUS. Remember, that's News of the U.S. And Nicholas Wu, congressional reporter for Politico. Great to have you both here. I want to play for you sound from Vice President Vance on Face the Nation using some, I think, interesting language to describe the shutdown and what's going on. Listen.
This isn't a deal-making. This isn't a negotiation. This is hostage-taking. The Chuck Schumer has not said to us, this is what we need. He said that unless you give us what we need, we're going to shut down the government. We don't negotiate with a person who has taken the entire federal government hostage over a health care policy dispute.
Dave, the hostage metaphor, larger than life in this particular week.
At a time when Israeli hostages were coming back to Israel. So that is not lost on what JD Vance is saying here. But obviously, he's trying to make a pretty clear point that Democrats are at fault, Democrats are wrong, and they are wrong at a colossal level. Of course, Democrats have a response to that and have had a response to that in not quite as, high-level fashion, but it really underscores the overall issue here, which is that we're no closer to ending the shutdown today than we were when we started. And in certain regards, we may be farther away from an agreement and a continuing resolution than we were 13-odd days ago.
Nicholas, you agree it might be farther away, not closer.
Yeah, I mean, we're entering the third work week or so of the government shutdown, and the House is still out this week.
All this week.
All this week.
No votes, nothing.
For the most part, yeah. The Senate is going to keep on voting on the exact same piece of government funding legislation over and over. And so, the Republicans are just waiting for Democrats to break. But
waiting
that's not
for
happening.
some sort of break in those Democratic ranks.
That's right. And so far, that's not happening. And, all signs point to that not happening at all.
Related to the shutdown, if you're in a U.S. airport, you are very likely, unless you're in Seattle or Portland, these are notable exceptions, to see this.
Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government. And because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay.
So this is a DHS video at airports that has a perspective, some might argue a partisan perspective, that has caught the eyes of many Democrats. That's not what the government should be doing. It's the government should be neutral, not partisan in this moment, Dave.
And one that may actually violate the Hatch Act, not that that has any chance of being enforced in this situation. But hey, look.
The Trump administration was pretty nonchalant about that Trump 1.0.
Without question. So she's pretty much free to do this. But this is Kristi Noem, who loves her videos. Let's remember about a year and a half ago, we were talking about how she was being sued by good government groups over a 5-minute infomercial that she cut for her dentist down in Texas. Ancient history, I know, a whole year ago, but Kristi Noem obviously is very much trying to do what JD Vance was doing in essence, which is ring that bell over and over again that the Democrats are at fault. And if you don't like the shutdown, if you want the government to open back up, well, you better talk to the Democrats and, not the guys who are in charge of the House, the Senate, and the White House.
Nicholas, I want to put something out before the two of you, but I want to get your reaction first. This is President Obama, former President Obama, on Mark Maron's WTF podcast, the very last one of its kind, talking about holier-than-thou progressives. Listen.
I think this was a fault of some progressive language, was almost asserting a holier-than-thou superiority that's not that different from what we used to joke about coming from, the right and the moral majority and,
right,
our way, and a certain fundamentalism about how to think about stuff that I think was dangerous.
First of all, our set is just so much better. I mean, straight up, we know that. Love you, Mark, but seriously, we got it going on here. Nicholas, your reaction?
I mean, we have candy on the table.
We have candy, and it doesn't eat itself, so make sure you get it before you leave.
But I think what President Obama was speaking to was this big debate that's going on among Democrats right now. I mean, I talk to Hill Democrats almost every day. It's this big question.
Unsealed after the 2024 election. This was not a topic that could be discussed before 2024.
Right. Before 2024, Democrats were focused on trying to win. Obviously, that didn't work. And so now they're fighting over, how they're going to talk, what they're going to talk about. But, of course, before you can come to any sort of resolution on what your message will be and how you'll message it, you have to decide on what you stand for. And that's the bigger issue for Democrats.
And very quickly, Dave, come to account for things that might have been suppressive of dissenting views, even within your own party.
Sure. And I think one question for the Democrats going forward is, How many Democrats are going to be willing to go on Joe Rogan's podcast? How many Democrats are going to be willing to go on Fox News? You've seen this from Pete Buttigieg, for example. You saw Hakeem Jeffries just very recently go on Fox News. But I think what the former president is talking about, when you look at the bigger picture, is we need to get out of our own echo chamber, and we need to stop talking to ourselves if we particularly have a chance in the 2026 midterm elections of regaining the power in the House or the Senate.
No echo chamber here at the Takeout. Dave Levinthal, Nicholas Wu, thank you very much. I appreciate it.